All right, here we are. We're live now, and today we're going to be talking about poor life choices. Welcome to the Pyrocast. Today it's me, Pyro, and my boy Ethan. So we're gonna be talking about some funny shit today. So poor life choices.
Made a lot.
Yeah,
Made a
like
lot of them.
tons.
Made a lot of them together.
Tons. The first.
You and me.
Yeah. So, yeah, because we go way back. We've known each other for a long time, and we did some stupid shit when we were in high school. So, like, I think back, the first thing, I don't know why, the first thing that came to mind was that time that you had gotten all that fucking liquor. Like, you had gotten all that random, like, look, by the way, we should not have been drinking.
We may or may not have been.
How was it that you got that stuff again?
Age. So, backstory: my ex-wife, she had convinced me to go into this house, and it was, I think the property had been like foreclosed on or something, and
like, it was obviously abandoned.
yeah,
right?
like
Yeah.
there was signs in the windows and everything on the doors and shit, so that like people weren't really allowed to go in. I don't know if the state had foreclosed on it. I don't know if it was a taxes thing. Hell, for all I know, it could have been carbon monoxide poisoning.
Yeah.
But she had gone in there previously and seen this big like box of just all kinds of different alcohol, and she had like talked me into fucking going in with her and just grabbing it. So and of course,
Something
like
that
being a dumb
do.
fucking teenager, right?
Yeah,
Just like,
yeah.
yeah, okay, let's do that. So we went in, and sure enough, there was signs in the windows, on the doors, and there was like no furniture. The layout was pretty cool. Like all the water and everything was off. It was basically an unoccupied house, So, but in the corner, in this really like oblong shaped box, there was just bottles of like half drank liquor, which, looking back on it, was also kind of sus. Like,
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Like that was probably not the best call.
Yeah, definitely not like the most sanitary decision that you could ever make.
It wasn't the best. Yeah, it wasn't the best idea. So, but yeah, no, we did that shit, and then we just grabbed the whole box, hauled ass out the door, and brought it to her mom's house.
Yeah. So to that point, so I had come over to hang out with them one night, and after this whole like stealing a hobo's liquor escapade, basically, because God knows why that was there,
right?
But
man.
we're like, oh man, we got a bunch of booze, and so we're freaking doing stupid teenager shit. And I remember like we smoke some pot and we hang out, and and then we started getting into the ever like the ever mysterious box of liquor. and the thing is most of it was not like actual liquor. Now that I think about it, it was mostly like mixers, right? It was mostly like liqueurs. It was mostly like
there was like a rice vodka in there, but that shit was
terrible. Oh yeah, but like it was mostly like blue Ciroc and like Midori, and like it was like blue and green and reds and all kinds of neon colored mixer liqueurs. There wasn't much actual straight liquor in there. Well, so of course we start getting into that, and my dumb ass just starts drinking blue Ciroc straight
it wasn't Ciroc, it was the blue liqueur.
Well, that's blue Ciroc. It's
Ciroc?
Yeah, Ciroc. So blue Ciroc it's a lemon flavored liqueur, but it's
what it
blue.
Was. Yeah.
It's like a straight Jolly Rancher blue. And it's terrible. It's the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted in my life. But when you're a fucking teenager that's got free booze, who cares?
Booze, man.
and so like we start getting into that, and the night like goes on for a little while, and I think like we started to all go to bed, I think, or we were watching a movie. I don't remember what we were doing at this point in time. But all I remember is laying down, and I felt like I was getting ready to, like ride the blackout crazy train into oblivion. And I just start fucking puking everywhere. Like, it gave no warning whatsoever. And usually I'm one of those people where if I'm gonna puke, I know it's coming, and like I can prepare for it. I can go ahead and go to the bathroom and sit down in front of the toilet and just wait.
That fucking carpet wasn't prepared.
That night was that carpet was not fucking prepared. Nothing was prepared for that. I was not prepared, and all of a sudden, like it just hit like a ton of bricks, and in 2 seconds, I'm like, oh, blowing chunks all over the fucking place.
You know what the worst part of that, all that was, though, to be honest with you? The fact that we'd had McDonald's, like, prior.
That was the worst part, yeah. Of course we did, because we were fucking teenagers and we were, like, broke. And so the only thing that we could afford to, like, buy and eat was McDoubles from McDonald's, And it was just like, oh, my God. What a terrible, terrible, poor life choice that was. That was so stupid because, I mean, yeah, like, I had had a few beers before. I had, like, had a couple of mixed drinks before, but, like, I had never drank like that because we just went ham on that fucking box of liquor that night. And it was just like, that was the dumbest thing that I think as far as alcohol, that was the dumbest thing I've ever done. I would never, ever do it again. And anytime, like, even now, even to this day, if I'm in, like, an ABC store, or just a liquor store, and I walk by Blue Ciroc, I gag. I'm like, nope, I don't want nothing to do with it. I don't drink
walking past Four Locos.
Yeah.
It's like, I know what you bring.
Yeah, no, I don't want anything to do with it whatsoever. I don't want anything to do with any drinks that are made with it. It's just a no for me.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I've got a couple that I walk past and it's like, nah, I can't do that again. Jägermeister especially is one of them. Yeah, man, I can't. Nope.
What's your Jaeger story?
Got really drunk off some Jaeger with some friends. It's just that, and like the taste of Jägermeister. It's more so like the taste of it. Like, the only thing that I can really drink it with is a Jaeger bomb, and if you're doing Jaeger bombs all night, what the hell? Like,
you might
as
well fucking shoot yourself.
You know what I mean?
Like, I hate Jaeger anyway. Like, I can't do.
I don't like black licorice, man.
No,
and especially like liquid. Like, you're gonna have black licorice in a drink.
Yeah.
Nah.
I think about the only licorice flavored alcohol that I can handle is absinthe, and that's if you have it like in the right way. Really?
It's just not for me.
Yeah. Have you ever had it like with the melted sugar cube and everything over it?
Once, and I was still.
There was an absinthe that
still a no-go for me.
There was an absinthe that was actually really good. What was the name of that stuff? I'm gonna Google this stuff right quick. It was like a black bottle and it had like some cat's eyes on it. What was the name of that stuff? That's about the only. Anyway, I can't find it, but that's about the only. Oh, Lucid. There was a bottle of Lucid that I had that had. It was like a black bottle and it had like some cat's eyes on it. I think it was Lucid, but that's about the only absinthe that I've ever had that I thought, okay, this is good, because it wasn't super licorice, right? Like, it didn't have a major licorice flavor to it, and it had the melted sugar cube over it and everything. And I was like, oh, this is actually pretty enjoyable. It's not bad. So anyway, rabbit trailing there. So back to your Jaeger. So what transpired after that? Like, did you just end up getting like...
I was wicked fucking hungover the next day. I felt like absolute shit, and then I had other things that I had to account for.
Yeah, well, because you're just like, you're drinking straight syrup. at that point.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
It's just so much sugar, and then mixed with, because the only way that I would drink it was the Jaeger bombs with Red Bull.
Yeah.
And there's so much sugar in the Red Bull.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much caffeine in the Red Bull. There's the amounts that because I would
taurine
make them kind of heavy.
guarana and all that shit.
Right. Well, that, and I would make the Jaeger bombs kind of heavy with the Jaeger.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, your heart rate's just going real fucking all over the place, and you're hammered. And
your heart doesn't know whether to be going 150 beats per minute or 10.
And the headache the next day was the worst.
Oh God.
Yeah, that and King Cobra. I've never gotten as hungover.
Boy.
As I got.
Yeah, you're dipping into fucking like
that's like a poor man 40.
Yeah,
right there,
hoodlum
bro.
days.
Ooh.
Like that's man, King Cobra. Speaking of super cheap shitty beer, you remember Mickey's, right?
I don't talk shit about Mickey's.
No. What I'm getting to here is you remember Mickey's? They were like $1 for each little barrel.
Mm-hmm. I used to get the 6-packs for like $5.
The 6-packs were like $5.
Yeah.
Man, I was at the gas station the other day. They make 40s of Mickey's now.
I've had one.
I was like, what?
Yep.
I just happened to walk by. I just happened to walk by, and I saw a 40 ounce of Mickey's, and I was just blown away by that. I never thought that something like that would be in a 40 ounce.
Yeah, on the West Coast, that's a big thing.
No shit.
Because when I was out in like California and Colorado, and there were a few states out west that I saw 40 ounces of Mickey's, and every time I saw them, I was like, I gotta get one. So yeah, it's cool as fuck. They don't have the puzzles on the bottom of the cap though,
and that's a shame.
It's disappointing. Disappointing.
That's disappointing. I mean, the thing about 40s is like I don't remember the last time I even bought a 40 ounce of anything. Period. I probably haven't bought a 40 ounce since I was probably freshly 21. Right? Like I think that's the last time, right. And that's been years ago. So, speaking of 40 ounces, I do think it's interesting that they make plastic ones now. They started doing that a few years back because, I mean, it's kind of the cliche, like, stereotype to find, like, busted 40 ounces in any, like, heavily populated city that's not all that clean. Like, right. I do think it's cool that they started making it plastic just so there's not busted glass all over the place, but now you just got a bunch of...
It's cheaper to recycle plastic, too, isn't it?
I don't know. Maybe?
I know that here in North Carolina, they got rid of the glass.
Yeah, you can't recycle glass here anymore, which is the dumbest fucking thing ever.
Fucking cut.
Yeah, I mean,
why? Recycling plants.
Well, I don't want to like try to like spread misinformation, but I remember reading something that the reason that happened was because most of our glass that we recycle is sent overseas.
That makes sense too.
And I think we prominently send it to China. I could be totally wrong, but I think what happened was there was like a lot of like glass recycling plants had shut down, or there was like maybe a tariff deal involved. I don't remember what the specific reason was, but it was something to do with we could no longer export our glass overseas to recycle, and we don't have enough here in the U.S. to do it ourselves. Mm-hmm. That's what I gathered from it. There's probably a lot of details in there that I'm missing, so nobody quote me on that, but I remember reading something about that, and that's why we stopped. And so now it just goes to the landfill with everything else, and we don't recycle it anymore, which is still shitty. The way I think about it is, if that's true, if that's the reason we stopped, then why didn't we just, I don't know, build a couple of glass recycling plants within the area and just start doing it ourselves, create more jobs for people, But
I was kind of caught off guard. development that I'm living in right now, they got rid of their recycling dumpster, and now it's just 2 trash dumpsters.
Just 2. Really?
Mm-hmm.
So you just can't recycle, period. What?
I'm not saying that you can't. I'm just saying they got rid of the dumpster. You know what I mean? I don't know. You might have to go to facilities now to do it. But there's there's weird. One place that's like across the street from our place, from our complex. So.
Huh. Still though, I don't know why they would get rid of the dumpster. I mean, especially if you're in an apartment complex, right? Like if townhome apartment complex, like everybody's got to dump their trash somewhere, and then there's a dump truck that comes and empties that dumpster once or twice a week, right? Yeah. So,
and I think it might have to do with people moving in and out too, because like there have been times where the dumpsters have been so full because new people have just moved in,
and they're tossing out all their old shit, and
getting rid of stuff, and boxes and this, that, and the third.
Huh.
But yeah, they got rid of that shit.
No kidding.
So,
well, anyway, I
digress. Just kind of went off on a tangent.
That was it was a good tangent though. Another poor life choice, and you're gonna know immediately what I'm talking about. Is that time with the Echo?
That was character development.
Character development
at its finest. Just saying. That was fun.
Oh man.
You can't even lie. Like looking back on it, it was stupid, but we were laughing while we were doing it. So.
Yeah, we were laughing until
we weren't.
Until we weren't. All right, so we were. Oh man, we were still in high school during that, weren't we?
Like right on the tail end of it.
I think we were. And
I know I had my truck. I think you had.
What was that? What year was that Ford?
Oh God,
that was a 91, wasn't it?
No, it was nearer the 91. I think it was like a 96 or 97.
That was F-250.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a heavy duty.
Yeah. So at the time, you were driving the Ford F-250 heavy duty, and I was driving a 2001 Toyota Echo. And
golf cart
it's like a golf cart of a fucking car. It's like a bean shape, it's a silly looking little thing. But it was a great first car, right? It was good on gas, it was reliable, it was, it was a good first car. And
so a bubble. That's what it was.
So it was a little bubble with wheels. And so anyway, so one night I was coming over to hang out, and for whatever reason, I was following you to your house, and for whatever reason, we just somehow, you were in front of me in your truck, and I was behind you in my car, and for whatever reason, we just decided to do a little fucking circuit race around the cul-de-sac. And I don't remember why we started that. I think it was you had revved your engine, and then I was around, and we were just fucking around. And all of a sudden, I'm coming around the cul-de-sac after going maybe 3 or 4 laps around it. And I had, I just made a stupid teenage driver mistake, right? And I wasn't looking. And I had to basically try to correct myself before I hit someone else's car that was parked in the cul-de-sac. Well, when I did that, I don't know if it was just because my tires were shitty or my brakes or whatever, but my wheels locked up, steering wheel locked up, and I just went straight into the storm drain of, the curb. And I remember smacking straight into that, and my hubcap flew off into the neighbor's yard, and the ass end of the car went up in the air for about 2 seconds and slammed back down. And I was just like, oh shit.
Yeah, I saw the whole thing and I was like, oh,
mistake.
Fuck.
I was like, I've just made a grave mistake. And I was like, okay, well, it's probably not that big a deal. So I went to put the car in reverse. By the way, this was a stick shift. And I went to go put the car in reverse and tried to reverse, and the car would not move.
Stuck.
The engine was going, everything there was fine. But the car wouldn't move, and I was like, oh shit. And so I got out and looked, and my front right passenger side wheel was lodged into the storm drain, basically. The tire was all mushed and funky looking. And I was just like, oh no. Well, so we pushed it out. We back it up some. And as I'm trying to move the car, like, once we get it unlocked from the storm drain, I remember, like, I was like, okay, well, I've got to park it. The tire's busted, so I got to park it. Well, as I'm going to reverse it, it does this weird thing where it, like, goes up. The car, like, moves upwards and then down and upwards and then down as I'm trying to reverse. And I'm like, something is not right here. It was like being on a fucking, like, elevator that goes up 2 feet and down 2 feet constantly back and forth as I was trying to back up. And it was weird. I'm like, okay, something else is definitely wrong. So finally, like, you know, jank this fucking car into the center of the cul-de-sac. Because there's like a little island section with grass and stuff, so I park it on that. And we get out our cars and we're like, oh fuck, dude, this sucks. Damn it, dude, what are we gonna do? And my dad's gonna be so pissed. And it was this whole thing. And you remember the
neighbors were sitting outside. The neighbors, they were laughing, yeah. Bro.
They were laughing, and then we were obviously, like, kind of pissed off at this point, so we tried to, like, mouth off to them. I remember that.
Yeah.
Like, we're like, what the fuck's so funny? Being stupid teenagers. And, dude, as soon as we said that, that guy on the neighbor and his buddy that were on the porch, like, I remember him going, hey, motherfucker, don't you fucking talk to me like that. I should fucking call the cops and blah. And he started going off. And we were just like,
what if my kids were outside?
Yeah, what if my kids were outside?
I was like, dude, it's like 10:30
Yeah, it's like 10:30 at night. Go fuck yourself, you know? But, you know, but he had a point, right? Like, he, you know, it was one of those things where
we could have fucked up.
Yeah.
Even worse than we did.
Yeah. But we did go eventually apologize to the guy thing. Like, he, you know,
he was chill. He was like, no, I was kind of a dick too, sorry.
Yeah. And it was just like, you know, and he was like, so how's the car? You know, like, we ended up chatting for a minute. But my car ended up, so the damage that ended up being done was the front right CV axle was bent to all hell. You could not drive the vehicle. It was not drivable. There was no way to drive this thing. And and so called my dad, told him what happened, and he's like, you stupid fuck, okay? And so, like, you know, and he didn't actually call me that, but you know,
he told me that you slipped up one night when you were drinking and told him what actually happened.
Yeah. That was a couple years
you made up
down
some
the road.
Bullshit.
Yeah, no, of course I did. I was like fucking 17 at the time, and I was like, oh shit, they just gave me this car like last year,
right?
You know,
no. Drinking one night, and you were like, yeah, that's over the Echo. And Jason's like, what?
He's like, what? Is that what I, you know, now it doesn't matter, but it's funny to like talk about and look back on now.
Oh yeah, good shit.
But and that poor car sat for, God, that car sat for months. It sat for months before I finally got it fixed. Stupid shit, man. Stupid shit that you do when you're most of this podcast is going to probably involve stupid stories from when you're a fucking teenager, right? Like that's
yeah, unless we divulge into a different
realm
tangent,
here.
You know?
Yeah. But I mean, I obviously we all, you know, we're humans. We do stupid shit all the time, and obviously the rate decreases as you get older and as you learn. But you know.
Because you see things like, yeah, maybe not. Let's probably not go to Chili's and try to get kicked out or something, you know? Sometimes it happens, though.
Yeah.
Sometimes
let's not start a bar fight with the fucking, you know, the guy that's wearing the tap-out shirt, and he's already 10 Bud Lights in.
Oh, Kyle?
Yeah.
Slammed a monster before he got here.
Yeah.
Beats his girlfriend.
Yeah.
He wears a tap-out here.
Yeah.
Smells like Bud Light in every Marlboro ever.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, and his uncle's a lawyer. And, you know, He's gonna
bail him out at any given moment.
Yeah, no shit. But poor life choices, man. It is what it is.
I think that a lot of the ones that I've made, like, had I not made that poor life choice in that like time, like what else I would have ended up doing.
Oh no, yeah.
Mean?
There's
like,
yeah.
So it's kind of par for the course.
Yeah, there's always something to be learned from it, for sure. Like ever since, like, again, like the incident where I fucking wrecked my car, like that made me a lot more cautious after that.
Yeah, we didn't play NASCAR in my mom's cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Anymore after that.
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
a one and
like
done.
It was a one and done, lesson learned kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
Okay, you can't do stupid shit like that. And it's just you're not fucking Dale Earnhardt in the fucking 2001 Toyota Echo.
Well,
like,
I mean,
you know,
you kind of had the same outcome, but
right.
you didn't die. So
Oh,
thank
man.
God for that. Like
Yeah.
your accident wasn't as major as his.
Right. Yeah.
So good stuff.
But I mean,
one up, Dale. What's good? Like,
oh my God!
I can crash my car and walk away from it, bitch.
Oh Jesus! What a fucking riot! Like that's. Oh man, but you know.
No,
Again,
he
like
was a legend. He was the shit.
Oh hell yeah! But like you said, like it's you live and you learn, right? Like it's you do stupid shit like that, and then you figure out later, okay, maybe I shouldn't down almost a whole fucking fifth of blue Ciroc, or maybe I shouldn't, play NASCAR in the fucking cul-de-sac with my little, bubble bean car on wheels, like.
Do you remember when I got the Ford stuck on the ice?
Yes.
In that ditch. Right outside of that guy's house at the corner where Curtis used to live.
Yeah.
And the guy came out and he was bitching about the ditch. He was like, well, somebody's going to come back and fix this. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
It's like at the very edge of your property, and it's like it's not even really yours. It's just a ditch like a dip in the road.
Yeah.
And I was stuck in it and I was like, I didn't fucking choose to be here.
Yeah. Or that time that we were at Walmart. And
I got stuck on
the ice. It got stuck on the ice on
twice.
That. Yeah, twice in that parking lot. Yeah,
in the parking lot on the same day in the same hour.
Oh my God, dude. Well, and that one was like the first time was like.
No, the first time was when we were going into Walmart.
Yeah,
and the second time was as we were leaving.
Yeah,
yeah,
and. That was a whole thing too. That was funny as shit though. Like I remember, like the first time it only took like 5 minutes to get out. The second time it took like 30.
Yeah,
and it took forever because I vaguely remember like me and fucking Curtis back there trying to push while you were hitting the gas because like your left tire was on just one solid giant block of ice and the right tire was just barely not touching the concrete. And so we were trying to like rock it to where it would catch just enough traction to try to push the truck forward a little bit. I do remember that briefly. But which we ended up getting it out. I remember that. But and I think somebody even drove by and was like, "Y'all need some help?" We're like, "Nah, we're good. We'll get it. We'll get there." But
well, right, because he drove past in like his fucking Toyota Camry. I'm like, what is that gonna do?
Yeah,
like, you got some toe straps in the back of that thing. Can you pull
this strap it to like the fucking
the
anchor hook that's on the inside of your car. That's for the back seat.
And I get like the
car seat hooks into. Oh my God!
If you can pull this out, guy, go for it.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of that, I saw you said Toyota Camry and it made me think of something. I saw that Toyota is going to make a like a high performance Corolla hatchback. It's like a GR.
I don't, man. They make so many new cars. It's so hard to keep up with that shit.
Well, what's interesting about it is it's the same kind of high performance that they use in the TR-86s and the Supras.
Right.
But it's just a small little. It's like their version of a Civic Si hatchback, basically. You know what I mean? Right. It's like 300 something horsepower, and it said 3-cylinder when I was reading the specs on it. What the fuck is a 3-cylinder? I've never heard of it.
That was a thing.
I'm gonna look this up right quick because that just made me think about it.
Have you seen the smart cars with like the Hayabusa engines in them?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, bro, that is awesome.
Fucking stupid.
That is amazing.
Yeah, 2023 Toyota GR Corolla. It's a 300 horsepower turbo 3-cylinder, and it only comes in 6-speed manual.
Wonder how well of a rally car that would make. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's kind of the purpose of it.
Like
like a rally car, because, but 3-cylinder, I've never heard of that. Like I didn't know 3-cylinder was a thing. I've only heard of 4-cylinders and V6s and V8s. Like I've never heard of a 3-cylinder.
So
like, is that just like a glorified go-kart? Like what?
I mean, I know that like a lot of if I'm not mistaken, there's certain motorcycle engines that are like 3-cylinder engines.
Yeah.
You know.
Huh.
I know, like a lot of
yeah, but surely a motorcycle engine
like
can't
an inline 4 type deal.
Yeah, but those. I mean, can a motorcycle engine really power a full-sized vehicle like that?
See, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't want to like risk that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're redlining, just driving that thing through the neighborhood.
Yeah, you're just constantly going fucking 7,000 RPMs no matter where you go.
Right.
You're driving through like a school zone at 25 miles an hour and you're still...
Right. Because like some motorcycle engines, like, I mean, they're going to be smaller than like your standard car engine.
Right.
But like, because they're so light and they're so nimble, you know what I mean? That's part of the reason they can go so damn fast. Because there's not that much like connected to them. You know, so I don't know. It'd be interesting to see though.
Yeah.
But like I said, we were talking about the smart car with the Hayabusa engine in it. And that's just because it's so fucking tiny. You know what I mean? It's such a small car.
Well, and yeah, you could probably put most of any motorcycle engine in a smart car, and it's gonna fucking fly. Because smart cars have like no weight to them whatsoever.
I saw a video of a guy who had an old Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah.
Like one of the older models.
Yeah.
Real old. And he put a Harley engine like in the back, and the Harley engine like actually powered the.
And that again would
Beetle,
make sense because depending on the size of the engine that it used, I mean, the old like Volkswagen Beetles are tiny cars. They're really not that big. My stepdad.
It might have been like a knucklehead.
Yeah.
Engine. I don't remember, but I do remember seeing the Harley Davidson V-twin sitting in the back of this fucking Volkswagen.
Yeah,
I was like, that's awesome.
My stepdad had a really he had a old school Beetle. I don't remember what year it was. Maybe it was like a 78 or a 82. I don't remember what year it was, but it was brown. It was just a little old brown bug.
Yeah.
And I loved that thing. That thing was so fucking cool. And I remember him driving that for a while. And looking back on it now, they're tiny as hell. In fact, there's one around here that I'll see every so often when I go to work, and it's the tiniest little thing. And so it would make sense for, like, if it's a good size Harley engine or something like that, it should be able to power that vehicle. It should be able to move it because they're still made of like solid metal. They're not made of like the shit that they use now, but they're so tiny. And they're so light in weight. And not only that, but even the original engines that go into the bugs are very small. They're not that big.
Yeah.
They're little things. That they were meant for like putting around town, right? Like they're not like some high performance fucking, going goddamn Back to the Future type engines, you know? It's not like a DeLorean where it weighs like 3,000 fucking sperm whales, you know?
Solid stainless steel car. My oldest brother, that was his first car. It was an old Volkswagen Bug. I've got pictures of me.
Talking about your oldest brother?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, gotcha. He's got like I've got pictures of me sitting in the front seat, and like he's in the driver's seat, and I think he's holding baby brother. You know, he's holding the youngest.
Yep.
I've got pictures of that shit. That car was really cool, man. I remember he wanted it red, so he ended up spray painting the whole car red. Yeah. But like it actually looked pretty good the way he did it, you know. He did it right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got pictures of that car, man. Those things are cool.
You know what? Speaking of cars, because I know we went on a major tangent from Poor Life Choices, but I'm kind of reverting back to Poor Life Choices here. Mm-hmm. So, when I lived in Mooresville for a while, Mooresville, North Carolina.
Right.
Not Morris, but Moores, because there's a Mooresville and a Morrisville. Mooresville is like NASCAR fucking central. Like, that's where all the race car people are at, right? And so you'd be surprised how many fucking cars you can find out in that place. Mm-hmm. Well, I still had my Echo at the time.
Right.
And at the time, something was wrong with it, and I don't remember what it was.
Excuse me. Damn.
It was irrelevant to what had happened, you know, with the fucking cul-de-sac incident. That was well beyond that. Something else had happened to it. I think, you know what it was? The catalytic converter had gone out in it. And I couldn't get it legal. I couldn't.
You give it to somebody who ended up like straight piping it anyway?
No. I actually ended up selling it to my brother. But,
yeah, that's right.
So at the time when I had it in Mooresville, I wasn't driving it because it was illegal.
Right.
It had no tags on it. And, you know, at the time, like, when I found out what the issue was, dude, I wasn't making any money. I was working part-time at a fucking grocery store, right? Like, and I was barely getting any hours. Like, I was getting...
Harry Peter.
Yeah, I was working fucking 5 to 12 hours a week at a grocery store making minimum wage. Like, I wasn't going to be able to afford to fix that fucking thing. And so, it sat for a while. But I remember when I was there, there was a guy that lived a neighborhood over from where I was staying at the time. And he had a 76 Stingray. Okay? This guy was simply just trying to get rid of it. There was nothing wrong with it. It drove good. It, you know, all original.
Right.
Everything, interior was still in good shape. Exterior needed a little bit of work, you know. Some of the paint was kind of fading out, and it needed a little bit of TLC. But engine-wise, still in great shape. I think it had maybe 75 to 80,000 miles on it.
Oh wow!
Which is not bad for a car that age.
Yeah.
And it was the original motor, you know, everything. And he was just trying to get rid of it because he had numerous project cars. He had a couple of other Stingrays, right? Like, he had Stingrays. He had a couple of Ford Galaxies. He had a couple of Impalas, like old, like 60s. You know, this guy was all about his antique cars. And he had the 76 Stingray. It was black. You know, he's trying to get rid of it. And I remember talking to him, and he was like, really, I'm just trying to get like a little, you know, put around, go to and from work, gas efficient vehicle, right? And I'm like, well, I have something like that. And he's like, all right, what do you got? And I told him what was wrong with it. He's like, catalytic converter, hell, I do that super easy, blah, blah, blah. Me and the guy chatted for a while. And he was like, I'll make you a deal. And because I told him how much I love that Stingray. But his asking price, I obviously could not afford it, right? Like, he was asking like $7 or $8 grand for this fucking thing. I didn't have no $7 or $8 grand. So he was like, I'll make you a deal. He was like, if you can get me $2 grand, right? And trade your vehicle, the Echo, I'll give you the Stingray. And I was like, oh, okay, that's way, like,
Right.
okay, sure. He's like, I can tell you love this car. I won't give this car to somebody that wants it. He was a good old Southern boy, you know what I mean? And so he's like, let me know. He was like, I'll give you a couple of months, whatever. Well, you know what my dumbass did? I didn't save one fucking penny. I didn't even. I think after that conversation, I was so stoked about it, and then for whatever reason, I just didn't even bother.
Life.
Yeah, life, and whatever else, and I just didn't even. I don't think I ever contacted the guy again after he made me that offer, and I could have got a '76 Stingray for $2,000 and a 2001 Toyota Echo as a trade.
Yeah.
And it was stupid of me not to take up that offer. You know what I mean? Like, I should have done that. Because if I had done that and kept that car, and even if I didn't use it as my daily driver, if I'd have just kept that car and, either drove it or tried to restore it just over time, right? And, like, really get it in good shape, I'd be sitting on a fucking investment right now. But I didn't do it. Or
on the same coin, you could be broke down on the side of the highway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Could be one of the two.
But
I probably would not have used it. I would have probably used it as a daily driver for a little while because it did run good. There was nothing wrong with it. It had no problems.
Right.
But, I would have needed to get another vehicle at some point to...
Yeah.
Have a backup. Because when you're driving a car that old, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I look at that as a poor life choice that I did not take up on that man's offer. I should have taken that. Because, that car, that Echo, wasn't worth but like $1,000 at that time. So basically, he was like, instead of $7,000, you can take it for $3,000. You know what I mean?
Right.
I should have done that. But, oh well.
Man, you'd have been pulling tail left and right.
Uh-huh.
Chasing skirts in that damn thing.
Yep, if I'd have just grown a good old mustache, just the mustache.
That'd be edgy.
Yeah, get some aviators. Man. Oh, man.
Damn.
Dropping panties left and right.
I'll never forget, like, when I came of age to get my first vehicle. I rode with Dad. We were going from his house to... I don't remember where the hell we were going. We were going somewhere. I think it was on our way to Grandma's house one day.
Going over to see Mima.
Pretty much, man.
Yeah.
I miss that woman. And we were talking about, what kind of car do you want? I was like, well, really, I'd like to have a truck. And he was like talking like, okay, well, I'm going to look around and see what we can find. And we were driving past this one, and in the window there was this old, it was a blue Ford F-Series. I don't know exactly what model it was, but it, like, the tail end sat up just ever so slightly higher than the front end. And my dad was like looking at it. It was like a powder blue with the white top. I mean, it looked really fucking good.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, what do you think of that truck? And I was like, that thing's... And I was like, yeah, no, I like that. And we pulled in. He's like, I'm gonna go talk to this guy real quick. He goes over and he gets out of whatever we were riding in. I think it was the Pathfinder at the time. Got out of the Pathfinder, walked over and went inside and talked to this guy about the truck. And they talked for all of about 5 minutes. And he just like, okay, nodded and shook his hand and left. And my dad got in the truck. And I was like, so what's up? He's like, yeah, you don't need that. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, you get that truck, you're going to be getting speeding tickets and racing this thing all over. I was like, what do you mean? He said that truck belonged to Junior Johnson. And I don't know if you're how familiar you are with like NASCAR stuff, but Junior Johnson was like one of the OGs in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was one of the guys that, pretty much built, or had a helping hand in building NASCAR to what it is.
No shit.
So that thing was, that was a race truck. He was like, yeah, you're not getting that. And
but again, how cool would it have been to say, you know what I mean?
I would have been getting tickets and chasing skirt.
Yeah. You'd have probably lost your license in that fucking truck. Yeah. You know, yeah, like that. Oh man.
But it looked good. It looked so good. Had the white wall tires on it, and the like the rims were blacked out.
Mm-hmm.
So just the whole, like the complete package, it looked really good. I didn't know fuck all about it. To this day, I don't remember fuck all about it. But my dad went on about it, and it was just one of those things that like I wasn't really big on like retaining that kind of information. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still don't know fuck all about cars really. I mean, I know basic shit. Like I can change a flat tire, I can change my oil, I can change a spark plug and a headlight. But after that,
but like when you start getting into that, yeah,
you know, like I'll do more like motorcycle stuff because take the seat off, engine, like the top of everything is like right there. You know, depending on what you got.
Yeah, I mean that's
a little more fun to work on too.
Yep. I can actually think of another poor life choice, but this wasn't one that I made. This is one that a stranger made. So I remember back when I used to live at the old house in Greensboro. You remember how Revolution Mill was right next to my house, and I could walk through there to the bar. So for those listening, we lived in a rental house, and it was old. It was beat up as hell, but the rent was cheap. At the time, we didn't make too much money, so it was like, you know, it was a good spot. It was close to a really bad side of town, but we weren't in a bad side of town, if that makes sense.
Right around the corner from the
police station. Right on the outskirts of it. Right around the corner from the police station. So next to us on that street, there was an old textile plant that used to make like fabrics and shit like that. And it had been abandoned for years. Well, a bunch of investors saw an opportunity and went, oh, this is a cool place. Let's modernize this and utilize the building and the space. And so they remodeled it. They put a bunch of businesses in there. There were art studios and, like insurance places and like law firms. And like there were a whole bunch of different businesses in there. And on the other side of it, there was a whole section that were apartments, and they were nice as hell. It was a really nice, cool facility. And they also put a little bar in there. And so it was cool for me because, like, if I wanted to go to the bar and have a couple of drinks or play some pool or whatever, I could literally walk from my house because I was the last house at the end of the street next to this mill. So I could just walk out my front porch and walk, a minute down the street, the neighborhood street, and be there at the mill, walk through the mill, and then be at the bar, and it would all be a 3-minute walk. So
on the way back, though, it's a fucking adventure.
Oh yeah, on the way back, right. It's an adventure.
It's a fucking adventure. It's great.
So one day I was gonna go walk there, and I was just by myself because I had actually made friends with the 2 bartenders that work there. They're really cool people. And I would go up there and just have a couple of beers, like literally 1 or 2 beers, and sit there and shoot the shit with them for a little while, and then I'd turn around and go home. Like I wasn't like going there to get drunk or anything. I just kind of made it a normal thing. Oh, I'll go up there and shoot the shit with them. And, we became good friends. So I'm out there, talking to them. But on the way, I happened to notice something laying in the road as I'm walking towards the mill, and I look down and it's a scratch off. And I'm like, I'm one of those people where I'm like, if I see trash, I'm gonna pick it up and try to throw it away, wherever I can. Well, I pick up the scratch off, and it's one of the $30 scratch offs, right? This was a winning scratch off for $20 million. Okay. But it had expired. And it had expired like a month ago, right? Like when I found it. But I immediately thought, you have to have that scratch off in order to claim your winnings, right? Like you have to take it to the courthouse. If it's that big of a winner, you have to take it to the courthouse. You got to go through all this paperwork, and you got to go through all this shit. It's like a process, right? But you have to have that physical ticket with you. This was a winning scratch off for $20 million. And it was just abandoned there in the middle of the fucking street. And I thought, what poor bastard either one, lost this ticket, two, tossed it out the window. Because the thing is that you don't keep the ticket, right? When you turn it in, they take it. So I'm thinking somebody did one of two things. Either they won and just glanced at it real quick and didn't pay attention to the fact that they had just won $20 million fucking dollars, or two, they accidentally lost it and it just so happened to land here. You know what I mean? Right. And I just remember picking that up and examining it closely, and I almost like fucking shit myself because I'm like, like, oh my god, I just got a random lottery ticket, and I'm thinking like, I can go turn it in. No. Right. It's been expired for like a month. And I think it had expired in like May, and I was like at the end of June. Right. At the time. So, damn, Right. But I remember thinking that, again, poor life choices, right? Whoever it was that originally purchased that lottery ticket made a grave mistake. Mm-hmm. They could have really changed their lives entirely. Because after taxes, you think about it, they still probably would have got like a good maybe 12 to 10 million out of it, right? If they took the lump sum. Right. Like, dude, that's life-changing. And it's just laying there in the road, expired, never got turned in. And I'm just like, ugh. Could you imagine, right? Like, say that whoever it was that had that lottery ticket was aware that they had lost it, right? Like, they knew they won, and they were going to go turn it in, and then they just fucking lost it. Could you imagine, like, the absolute existential dread that set in
on my boss's desk?
Yeah. There's a giant pool on your desk.
There's no one gonna hire me now. I tatted my face already.
Yeah, but like, could you imagine? You're like, yeah, I won the lottery, and you tell your boss to go fuck themselves, and you do all this stuff, and then you lost the fucking ticket.
Right.
You dropped it in the fucking streets somewhere in the city. And now you're just screwed. You're out of a job.
I would have that ticket on lock.
Yeah, like, dude, I would have that thing like taped to my nuts, right? Like, I would make sure that at all times that ticket was on my person, but invisible, right? Like, not to where somebody knew it's not going to be in my pockets, right? Like, because if somebody tries to run my pockets, they ain't getting that. They gonna have to touch my nuts in order to get that fucking lottery ticket.
My butt cheeks.
Yeah, right. Like, there's no way. I'm not gonna be stupid enough to, just put that motherfucker in my back pocket and go on about my day. Oh, hell no.
Dude, what would you do with that lump sum of money, though? Like,
what would you do with it? Oh, man.
Like, I'd like to think that I would live humbly, but I know, fuck, I would ball.
So I've always said that there's a couple of things I would do. So, like, we'll say the number is that you bring home to your pockets is, we'll say, 50 million, right? I'd buy a nice, not ridiculously outlandish, crazy rich person house, but, not, I'm going to have a nice house, right? Like, right. I'm going to do that, right? My place of living is going to be nice. It's not going to be some $1.5 million house, but it's not going to be some $100,000 house either. Right? I'm going to probably spend around $500K, roughly. Decent size. The main thing is going to be property size, right? Like, I want land, right? So I'm going to buy land, and enough to where I can like be about 50% self-sufficient, right? I'm gonna you know, get some kind of a farm going, I guess, right? Like I'm gonna grow some of my own vegetables and fruits and shit. I'm gonna get some, you know, some cattle, some just livestock, right?
Right.
And I'm gonna have a nice house, right? The house itself, you know, that I live in, you know, I'm gonna have, you know, a pretty awesome place, right?
Right.
You know, spare bedrooms for like guests and family members and stuff during like holiday gatherings and shit like that. You know, I'm gonna have a couple of toys, obviously, and when I say toys, I mean like I'm gonna have a couple of 4-wheelers, you know, that kind of thing. Like
Right.
I want to be able to enjoy the land itself. Like I want a good like 50 plus acres, and so I'm gonna have a good property, good house, and the rest of that money, I'm gonna take a large chunk and just simply place it into a savings account of some sort, like an IRA or something, and just
Right.
live off the interest.
Right. Watch
Right?
the money jump.
I mean, God, you know, if you put that much money in a savings account that's got a decent interest rate, if you play your cards right, you can most of the time live off the interest. I'm obviously gonna give a lot of that money away, right? Like I'm gonna make sure like all of my family and my friends and like everybody's taken care of. You know what I mean? Because I mean, $50 million, man. That's a lot of freaking.
That's not
money.
even the highest that it's been before.
No, I know. That's nowhere near the highest
like,
it's
what,
been.
350?
Yeah, no, that's nowhere near the highest. You know, even just 50 million, man, you could change a lot of people's lives with that, including your own. And so, you know, I'm going to make sure my people are taken care of, right? Like my family, my friends, like everybody's going to be taken care of in some way, shape, or form, right? Like I'm going to, you know. And
Go buy yourself a house.
Yeah, like I'm gonna
buy yourself a car.
Right, like to the
buy your
best.
mom a car.
Yeah, to the best of my abilities, I'm gonna make it to where it's like you can quit your fucking job today, right? Like I want you to go look at your boss dead in their face. If you don't like your boss, I want you to take a big old fat steaming dump on their fucking desk,
right?
And tell them to go fuck themselves and leave, right? If you like your boss, just say, sorry, I don't need to be here no more. You know, pull the whole Peter Griffin, like, I just want to thank you for several pleasurable years of working for this corporation, blah, 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 bullshit, you know.
There's a fat poo on your desk.
Yeah, there's a giant pool on your desk. And pull that whole thing. Either way, however you want to do it. But that's what I would do.
Have you ever seen the videos of the guys that quit their job in, like, epic ways? I saw one, this guy had he had a mariachi band, like, follow him into his job, and they're performing, like, as he's talking to his boss quitting. And he's like, he's walking through the store, and the mariachi band just followed him, doing their thing. And his boss is like, really? He was like, I quit.
Yeah.
And they're all just, like I said, whole band's just going, following this guy in and out. It's great.
Man, that's a very humorous, but, like, friendly way to quit your job, right?
Yeah.
Like just have a mariachi band follow you in there.
I don't think I could quit doing what I'm doing. I don't think I could go back to doing anything normal after, like, you know, doing the line of work that I do.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely would not go back into a fucking restaurant. No.
Oh, hell no. No.
I can't, you know.
Well, especially these days. Like, no,
yeah.
I wouldn't even.
And the COVID restrictions have made everything fucking worse.
Yeah.
And you know, I couldn't go back to that. I definitely couldn't go back to any kind of sales job. You know.
Yeah.
Or like anything where I have to deal with like the general public. I'm more of like a, you know, let me tell me what I need to do and then leave me alone. Mm-hmm. Kind of, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I could easily just where I'm at, like in line of work I do, like I could easily go do something else. It wouldn't. I wouldn't have a problem moving on to something else, right?
Right.
The only reason I stay continuing to do what I do is because it does pay me pretty decent. It's not great, and if I look at like statistically, and even other people that do the same thing that I do and what they get paid.
Right.
I am underpaid on average. I'm probably about, I think the last time I checked, it was like 32% under, which is a pretty big.
And you've been with that company for a while, too.
Yeah, I've been with them for it'll be 8 years this year, going on 9.
Right.
And that's a good bit. Now, don't get me wrong. I've had some great opportunities at this place. I've had, I started at the bottom of the totem pole, and I've just worked my ass off and worked my way up.
Worked your way through the
but
ranks.
When I look at what I could be getting paid elsewhere, it's kind of hard to stay.
Right.
Knowing that I could go be making.
Feel like it weighs out.
Yeah, I could go I could go make another 20% on top of what my current salary is. Right,
Yeah.
like some even 30 to 40. I could almost double my salary, and I'm like, yeah, it's nice to only have to drive 3 to 5 minutes to get to work, but damn, I'll drive another hour if it means doubling my fucking salary.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Well, I mean, you also got to look at where the state of gas is and everything, right?
Right, and that's a big driver for sure. Yeah, when gas is like kissing the cheek of $5 a gallon, it's
right.
like.
See, my thing is with my job is I like the scheduling too, because I'm off for a whole 7 days, every other week. 7
days on and 7 days off is a really cool concept, because.
But holy shit, that whole 7 days, there'll be certain days where it's it's slow and I don't have any calls. But then there's days where it's just they don't stop coming in.
Right.
And yeah, it's nice to have that 7 days off to where it's okay, they're gonna leave me alone.
And you're on salary too, aren't you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so 7 days on and 7 days off is cool because you're only working half of the year.
Right, that's one of the main reasons why I do it. Like I said, sure, I'll suffer all 7 days if you leave me the fuck alone for 7 days. Mm-hmm. Fine, cool, excellent. I'll do whatever you need me to do. And and sometimes there are times where I might have to come in and fill in. And the thing is I don't mind the work. You know what I mean? I don't mind what I do because
yeah,
I'm just used to it at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah,
because what you do takes a stomach.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Working with funeral homes and stuff, man. But I mean, I enjoy the work. I love the people that I work with. And I've been in situations where I'm yeah, this family was awesome. And then I've been in situations where it's I want to go home right now.
Yeah, no, and working in that line of business, man, there's no escaping that. You're gonna have times where you're oh fuck, I don't want to do this, it is what it is.
Oh yeah, and the fact that it can happen, I can have to go take a call at any given point. I could be in the middle of trying to go to sleep or trying to eat something or trying to get something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
a little bit.
In the middle of making love to your wife and you get fucking called in.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, it's not that bad really, because if we run hard, they'll generally hey, if you need some sleep, go home, go rest.
Yeah, and they probably would prefer you to be rested because of what you're doing, right?
I've had times where I've just been on autopilot and I've been fine, but I've also had times where there's a little more struggle with having to do what I had to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine if you say that you're done for the day and you go home and you eat something. You relax for maybe an hour or so, and then you try to get some sleep, right? And you've only slept for 2 hours, and then your phone goes off, and you got to get right back up and go back.
That's what it is.
I can imagine that your body goes into a mode where it's oh fuck, you got to rely on the excess DMT that's probably releasing in your brain at that point because you're you're sleep deprived, you know, and you're just like you said, you're on autopilot at that point, and you're just
caffeine and nicotine,
zombified.
For me, it's caffeine and nicotine.
Yep, caffeine and nicotine for breakfast.
Builds nations. You know?
Yeah.
Nah, if I've got enough caffeine in me, I can do it. But you know, there'll be times where, and it's happened before. It hasn't happened recently, thankfully. But like they could, you just look at me and be like, "Bro, you look exhausted. You
look tired." You know? Yeah.
Because the last thing that you want to have to deal with is, you know, being that tired and having to do that job.
Yeah. Well, and you know, there's a certain point where your body just does not allow it anymore. Right?
Oh, when I was working security, bro, man, I was working Sunday to Monday, Monday to Tuesday, Tuesday to Wednesday, and then Wednesday I'd be off until like every now and then, like I'd have a weekend shift, you know, on that. But generally I was off the rest of the week, and there were a few times, man, where like I'm fighting the shadow people to stay away.
Yeah,
you know,
fighting the shadow people. Yep.
And that I feel like was more risky. Because like they put me in some sketchy ass areas, like
oh hell yeah, you're working unarmed. Like night shift security, unarmed, yeah. Like
no, it was not fun. It was not fun. If I could get to my car, I'm out of there. If somebody else got to my car, like you know what I mean? Yeah, kind of thing. But no, dude, there was a few nights working at this, so there was a hotel, right? And they were building another hotel right next to it. And it was like a Marriott or something. And they hired the firm that I was working for to kind of keep an eye on things because it was a sketchy part of town. They were worried about like their copper wire getting stolen because copper is worth money if you go and scrap it.
Oh hell yeah, it is.
You can make some bank off of it. But they had like these giant, like huge, like spools of it. Like I mean, like the spool could have been a coffee table. Jeez. I don't know if you've ever seen people do that, but I've seen
hell yeah, I have.
Yep. Coffee table out of the copper spools. But there's a bunch of that, and it was like an unfinished building. And at night, it was. At first, it was kind of trippy. At night, it was kind of like, this is, like, uncomfortable. But then, like, after I learned, like, all the noises for everything, I was like, oh, okay, this is fine or whatever. But, there was one night, man, it was a Wednesday. It was a Tuesday into a Wednesday. So, like, I'm already tired from, like, the night before. You know, from the past 2 nights of not having sleep. Because I would work 6 p.m. to 7 a.m. So, you know, I would go to work when the sun was going down. I'd come home when the sun was coming up. Yeah. You know, and I don't think, you know, your body is designed to live that kind of lifestyle where it's like you're kind of living in between days, you know?
Unless you live in, like, fucking, is it Alaska that has, like, the 30 days of darkness or
something like that. I don't see how they can deal with that.
Oh, hell no.
But,
well, you know, they say that, like, most people, and this is, again, disclaimer, this is just something I read. I don't know if this is actually true or not, but I remember seeing somewhere that I was reading about that specific thing. People that live in, it's Alaska or somewhere, that they have the 30 days, 40-ish days of darkness once a year. And most people that live there are like raging alcoholics. And I can kind of reason with that because I'm like,
and have a snowball fight.
Right, like I'm like, what else? To death. Yeah, what else can you do besides just sit inside and fucking drink? Like, what else is there to possibly do? You know what I mean? Like,
I wouldn't mind going, like, getting into hunting and like going out that way, like to Alaska to hunt like big game. Like, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, I mean, I can. I mean, what game would even be out there? Like, I mean, are you talking like fucking polar bears? Or like, I mean, Alaska? You can't hunt polar bears, but
no, I'm talking like moose, elk, real big.
Yeah, elk. Man, some moose are fucking huge, man.
Caribou. I don't know if that's a thing.
There's some moose that I've seen, and I'm like, I would not approach that creature with a 30 fucking foot pole. Like, there's no way.
I want to shoot it.
Yeah, but God, some of them suckers are huge.
If I could like train a polar bear, like I would saddle up and ride it.
Oh hell yeah! What was that movie where they were riding polar bears? They had trained them. What movie was that? That was like some weird like fantasy type.
I know what you're talking about, but I cannot remember the name of it.
What was the name of that damn movie?
I don't know. But I vaguely remember seeing
Yeah. They were like, they had saddles and everything on the fucking polar bears, and they're using the polar bears as like cattle to ride, basically. Like I was just like, that's a ridiculous concept, but
But back to what I was talking about. Yeah, no. So there was this one night I was doing an external patrol. Right, so I was parked outside of the building, and like one of the things I have to do is like walk around the building, make sure nobody got into it, go and check all the rooms. Which I will like. I got good cardio in because they didn't have the elevators built, so I'd have to go up each flight of steps.
Yeah, climb the steps all night.
It was a bitch, but it was one night I was doing like this an external patrol, and what was really weird is like I knew I was tired. But, like, I still felt like something was off. I felt like somebody was looking at me. You know when you feel like somebody looking at you and how uncomfortable that is?
Yeah, you get that, like, it's not necessarily a shiver, but it's kind of a...
It's like you need to go to therapy afterward.
Yeah, there's like an aura that you can feel on your skin physically that's like,
But I felt that, and I looked up, and then, like, in the second story of one of the windows... So he was in one of the unfinished rooms. There was this dude, and he was just like looking at me, like just staring. I had to rub my eyes a minute because, like I said, I'm last day of the shift. I'm coming off. I'm exhausted, and I was like, I need to go look at that. I need to go see if that was legit or not.
Right.
So, what really sucks is, like I said, unarmed. I had a flashlight, and I had a flashlight and cell phone. Because we're genuinely concerned about the well-being of their employees.
Yeah.
So, I go upstairs and like I get to the second floor or whatever, and like I call out and I'm like, if I have to find you, this is going to be a big problem.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear anything, so I kind of sat and I calculated. Like which window corresponded with what?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Trying to locate where he is.
Right, and I could. The first thing, like when I got to the second floor, is I could smell his cologne. So I was like, "Yeah, he's up here. I know it."
It's cologne.
His cologne. He was wearing some sort of cologne that was really strong, but like.
So he's obviously probably not like a homeless person.
No, right? No. I don't think he was homeless. He didn't carry himself to be homeless. He didn't. But then again, like, what does that look like?
Yeah.
But like I feel like there are certain people you can look and tell them like, yeah, you're probably sleeping under a bridge or something, bro. I'm not mad at you for it. I get it.
Right, yeah.
But no. So the way the rooms were set up, right, is you'd come up from the hallway, you come into the room, and like when you first opened the door, it was like kind of a short corridor that opened up into a room, and then there was like a window on the back side or whatever. Right. And like you'd walk in, and then you'd come around, and then you'd walk in, make a right, and the room opened up. You'd make another right, and you were in the bathroom. So like it did like this kind of horseshoe type shape, right?
Yeah.
I come into the room, and I'm looking. I don't see him, and then I hear something move, and quickly, probably the fastest I've ever moved in my life. I shined like the light to where it was like the noise came from.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I saw was a Bulls jersey. And then I started seeing like his legs moving, and I freaked the fuck out because by the time I moved to where his hands were in a backpack. And like that scared the piss out of me because I couldn't see what his hands were going for.
Yeah.
I started yelling, let me see your fucking hands, let me see your fucking hands. And I caught him off guard or whatever. He threw his hands up. I was just yelling the entire time. Like, what are you doing here? you know, what the fuck? I'm gonna call the cops. Da 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 da. This, that, and the third. And he was like, I'm sorry. And then eventually, like, we calmed down. I was like, what are you doing in here? He was like, man, I was at the hotel across the street because, like, in this area, there was a couple different hotels, right?
Right.
He was like, I was at the one across the street, and some girl, like, called my phone, and my girl went through my phone and found out that she's been calling me and messaging me, and she kicked me out. And I was like, damn, bro. So I had to, like, level with him for a minute. Like, and I kind of, like, I told him, I kind of lied to him a little bit. I was like, you could have got killed tonight, bro. Yeah. I could have shot you, da da da, even though I was unarmed. But, like, I wanted to, like, really...
Because you don't know... No,
because he didn't know if I'd have been, you know, armed or not. Especially if, you know, if somebody... Especially working for the company, because I didn't really have, like, that much, like, training in those kind of situations.
Well, and not only that, but, whatever, I mean, that probably wasn't
had I been
bad idea,
officer,
just simply because you don't...
Could have been worse.
Well, yeah, and because at that moment in time, you've kind of got the situation somewhat diffused.
Right.
And so, but you don't know if he's totally bullshitting you, right? Like, you don't know if he's being full of shit about his story or not. So it's not bad to mention, hey, I could have shot your ass just now.
Yeah.
And so
if I've been an armed officer, because you didn't.
Yeah, and so in his mind, say that he was lying about that, and you had just said that to him, he goes, okay, so I need to stick with the story I just told, and I need to get the fuck out of here. Right? Like...
Right, and he was trying to offer me, he was like, I can give you some money if you let me sleep here tonight, I can give you my ID, all this other... I was like, no, dude, like... Because if they come here, and I get shit can cut, like, you're not going to pay my bills, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, no. So, I've had that. I had one night, man, I was sat up in the middle of the place, right? Because, like, the doors weren't put on either sides of the building. It was a long building, right? So I sat in the middle of it. And I could see, you know, all the points of entry from where I was sitting.
Right.
And there was this one night, man, this dude ran through from the other hotel just tweaking out of his fucking mind. I mean, his pupils were like pinholes, dude. Like, I mean, he was way the fuck out there, right? He was
fucking charged.
Yo, he was on some other shit. And, he comes running in. He's like, they're after me, man. Can I hide in here, please? Can I hide? I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, these guys...
The shadow people.
I swear, bro. Might have been. He was like, these people in like these black hoodies, man. They're chasing after me. And you hide.
Shadow people.
I was like, I don't fucking know, man. You can't stay here. He was like, please. I was like, look, if you stay here, I'm going to call the cops. And as soon as I said cops, fucking book it. He was out of there. He wanted nothing to fucking do with anything, right?
Yep.
And he ran fast as fuck. And, like, I poked my head outside. I didn't see anybody. Like, I had to, you know, file an incident report.
Oh, yeah.
Because it happened, you know. So I had to call the cops, and they came out, and they were like, yeah, he's just fucking tweaking. That's it. He's just high on meth.
Yeah. Oh, man. Done hit the peace pipe one too many times.
Yeah, you see some, like, crazy shit, especially, like, in sketchy parts of town.
Yeah.
Late at night. Like, that's when the real sketchy shit's just, like... I can't, man. There was this one night. I had a prostitute like offer herself to me, like as I was on the phone with an ex-girlfriend who I was dating at the time.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So she's on the phone. This girl comes over and she knocks on my window and goes, "Hey, you know, I've been living out on the street. It's like I don't mean to bother you, but I've been living out on the street for a few months now, and." I was like, do you have anything that you could help me with? And I was like, I don't have any cash on me. I don't carry cash. And I'm working. So I really, I don't have time to break away to go get you some, money. And I'm not going to give you a $20 bill.
Yeah.
To be honest. But she was like, well, I have a hotel room at the hotel across the street. If you wanted to,
Yeah,
like, you help me out, I can help you out. And, like, the entire time I'm on the phone with my ex, and she's like, what is she talking about? Like, what's going on? I'm like, yeah, hang on. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that.
Right.
You know what I mean? No, I don't know you, and you're already, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a negative ghostwriter.
No, and then I let her go or whatever. I didn't file an incident report because I didn't feel like it was needed, but... my ex was like, what was that all about? And I was like, she just like solicited herself to me, and she got pissed at me. I was
What?
like, I had no control over this.
Yeah, what are you supposed to... I mean, like, she was on the phone with you. You're sitting there talking to her, and if she heard the conversation unfolding, should have used context clues to figure out that,
Yeah, well,
you know, some fucking prostitute had just approached you and, like, you know, what are you supposed to do? Like, I'm sorry, there's fucking crazy people out there, you know?
right. But I think, I guess the poor life choice made on the whole incident with the guy who got kicked out. I think that was just like he threw me in a situation where it was like I didn't know what could have happened.
Yeah.
And who the hell knows? He could have easily shot me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It could have been it. So, and actually, it had a good buddy of mine who he was a security guard. I mean, we weren't really really good friends. Like I knew him, we were friends, we were cool with each other, or whatever.
Right.
And he actually got killed one night. 3 guys broke into the place he was working and they shot him.
No shit.
Yeah, man.
Dude, that's fucking terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, shit's sad.
See, and that's why, like, to me, if you're gonna be a security guard, you've got to be armed. Like,
Yeah.
You know, like
But on the same coin is like I feel like you need to train more than what most of these places are like.
Oh yeah,
considering
for sure.
their
Yeah,
training.
like there needs to be an extensive training process. Like that they you know they need to make sure they pay these people good, and they need to be trained to you know not only like secure the area that they're watching over when they're on duty, but they need to be able to defend themselves. I mean, what the fuck is the point of hiring a security guard if they have no means necessary to defend themselves? At that point, you're just a disposable hero. You know what I mean? Like you're not.
Yeah.
They're paying some guy $10 an hour to fucking stand out there with a flashlight, and they're, you know, patrolling outside of wherever it is they may be. And you don't know if some, like you said, what happened to your buddy, like what, you don't know if some crazy fucking crackhead's gonna come in there and...
He was armed. He actually had the ability to shoot back. And, you know, in situation, the way that it unfolded, he just happened to be the one that got hit.
Yeah. And that can happen too, but at least... there's a higher chance if the security guard is armed versus not.
So
right?
I think there's definitely more places need to get more in depth with like being on the defensive side of things, like covering their ass, but they also need to work do more towards ways of like de-escalation. Right. Like if you can de-escalate a situation without having to resort to making somebody else taking the room temperature challenge. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I feel like that's better. But there are certain situations where it's like this is, you're backed into a corner. You have no other option. Yeah. I hate to say it, but sucks to be you. Yeah. Kind of thing.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's just like I said. That's one of those things where one of the many things in our system and specifically in the United States that's just kind of flawed, right? Like we should allow, if we're going to hire for jobs like that, we should allow them to be able to protect themselves, right? That's one of those things that it's not fair to expect somebody to try to guard a fucking Walmart on like the worst side of town in the middle of the night. It's a 24-hour Walmart, and the best that they can do is say, "Hey, stop! You're not supposed to take that." That right there could get somebody shot.
At Walmart, and it's like, why are you going to put this fucking relic of a human being right at the front door?
Right. I mean, come on, like that. Let's make use of that kind of job, right? Like and I understand there's a lot of legality involved. Like it's not always that simple. But if we're talking like security guards that are like either watching a hotel overnight, or they're watching banks or any sort of major locations like that where typically crazy shit can go down, Let them be fucking armed.
Oh, dude, I worked in one spot. It was a hotel that it you know, it was established or whatever. You know, it wasn't a construction site or nothing. But I went in there one night and I was, like I said, unarmed detail. And I got in and I was talking to one of the guys that worked behind the counter, and he was like, "Yeah, if you can think of it, it's probably happened here at least once."
Yeah.
It was like shootings, murders, rapes, assaults, drug activity, prostitution. It's like, yeah, oh yeah, it all happens here. And I was like, damn, all right, and like I just kind of like shook it off or whatever. And there was another guy that came in who he was kind of doing that thing where they like live in it month to month and they pay, you know, like their rent or whatever.
Yep.
He came in and he like sized me up real quick. He goes, "Oh damn, they got a rookie." I was like, "Ooh, what you mean?" He's like, "Do you have anything?" I was like, "Yeah,
just
no.
fucking pissing my cornflakes. Why don't you?" Like,
I was like, "I have a pocket knife on me." He's like,
"Okay." Damn.
Sharp stick, homie. But no, that was it. And I was like, yeah. And I think I worked like 1 or 2 shifts there, and like the third night I had to do it. I was like, look, I don't feel comfortable doing this here. It's like with some of the shit they've had to deal with, and I'm out here unarmed. Like,
yeah, yeah. There's a that's one of those things where you're just kind of like, poor life decision. Do I need to go through with this, or do I just
that whole company was a poor life decision?
Jesus.
Yeah, don't do security work.
Yeah, no, yeah. Lesson learned.
If you can,
boys and girls, don't
avoid it.
do.
I mean, if you like it, that's one thing. Fine, okay, but bad taste in my mouth after the experience that I had. So
no kidding. So I have one more that is definitely a poor life choice, and this is another one that was when I was like a kid, I guess. It was like a live and learn kind of thing. So this was back when I had pretty much like sliced a small hole of my leg open, right? So me and a friend who you obviously know very well, that I will not name, but we were, so I want to say that at this time I was probably 11 to 12 years old. I don't remember exactly how old I was, but
old
I want to say...
Old enough to know better. Old enough to know better?
Right, old enough to know better. So, we lived out in the country. We lived in a little town called McLeansville, North Carolina, and it was, probably about 20 to 30 minutes outside of, main city, but it was still pretty country where we lived. So his house was a couple of houses up the street from me, and we were really good friends, hang out, all the time, almost every day. So one day we're hanging over at his house, and in his backyard, there was a tree line, and if you went into the tree line of the woods, there was this really cool, it was just a really naturally cool area. There was this, big trench in the middle of these woods back there that had, a couple of, little small hills and stuff. It was just a really interesting landscape, and so we used to go back there, and, we would clear areas out. We'd try to make little obstacle course things, and we did all the shit back there that was just, stuff that typical 11, 12-year-olds would probably do, right? And so one day we decided there was a lot of brush back there. There were some thorn bushes, and there were a few other things back there that we wanted to clear off of the trenches, because I think, if I remember correctly, the reason we did that was because we decided that during the winter time, it would be cool to sled down those trenches. But right. There was a lot of brush and shit in the way. So we were like, let's go clear them out. So He had like a couple of, I mean, they were basically swords. They weren't like your typical machetes. They were like short swords, right? And they were the really cool looking, like rainbow colored blades that had like the wraps around the handles, and they were full tang. They were sharp as shit too. And so we're like, let's go back there and start clearing this stuff out. So he's off in the other area, up on top of the trench, out somewhere else, clearing some other stuff off. And I'm in the middle of the trench, like in the bottom. And the thing is that in the bottom of this trench, a lot of logs and branches and just shit had fallen into the bottom. So you couldn't walk on solid ground. You were walking on logs and stuff, right? Like broken tree limbs and all this other stuff. So I'm trying to clear out one of the steepest parts of the right side of the trench. And I'm using this little, probably about 2 foot long to 3 foot long short sword type thing. And it was working, right? Like I'm chopping down this thorn bush, chopping it down, chopping it down, chopping it down. And again, mind you, my footing is not in the safest area.
Right.
So I went to take a step forward when I was doing another hack to the thorn bush that I was taking out. And I went to hack it, and my foot slips. Okay, my right foot slips and gets caught in a log as I'm swinging. So that changes the trajectory of my swing. Okay, and I basically hit myself, right? I'm swinging with all my might, and my foot slips, and the way the trajectory landed was I ended up bringing the blade down into my own fucking thigh, right? Like right here above my knee, and slice that sucker right open. Like it was probably about that deep. It was probably a good like inch and some change deep, and it was probably about that big around. So it was like 3/4, like coins. About that 3/4 all next to each other, laying flat on a table, like that size, that big around. And I didn't know that at first because I was wearing a pair of jeans, because even though it was summertime, there were thorns and shit back there, so you wear jeans, right? And so I immediately knew, as soon as I accidentally hit myself, I dropped the freaking blade and I like fell down, and I'm like, oh no, I've made a grave mistake. And I could feel that part of my leg pulsing, and I could feel blood just fucking spitting out of it. And so
you didn't fucking hit your femme.
Oh no, it was close. It was very close. It was close. And so I fell down and I called for him. I was like, dude, come here. I just fucked up. I just made a big mistake. So he comes over there, and like we see the hole in my jeans, and then kind of can see the wound. And at first it's like, oh, it doesn't look that bad. I think you just nicked yourself. Well, once like I pulled the jeans up
and you saw
it, I was like, oh no.
Right.
And it was like, I remember very vividly saying, dude, go get your dad, his stepdad.
Right.
And I was like, dude, go get your dad. A Band-Aid is not going to fix this. Right. This is a problem. Like, I need to go to the hospital. So he goes and gets them. And at this point, like, the adrenaline is starting to wear off and the pain is starting to set in. And I start feeling and realizing what I've done. Luckily, I cut mostly into fat, but it still fucking hurts, right? It still hurts, and you still feel it. So, so him and his dad come out. His dad's like, oh, shit. And I'm in the bottom of this trench, and this trench is steep, right? So it's not easy I can't walk, right? Like, I cannot put pressure on this leg, because if I stand up, blood's going to come fucking rushing out of this wound. So his dad's like, all right, we need to pull him out. Like, we literally need to pull him out. So he goes and gets some rope and, like, comes down there and ties me up, like, a harness, right, with the rope. Like, ties a harness using the rope.
Mm-hmm.
And they start trying to pull me out of the trench. Well, right when they start getting me towards the top, they dropped me.
Oops.
Oopsies. No, it wasn't like a major drop. Like, it wasn't like, I kind of just slid down, but it still sucked because it bent my leg a certain way and like a little more blood came out and it just sucked. By this point, my left pant leg was red. So, finally they pull me out and get me back out of the tree line and into the main backyard of the house. And so he goes and gets a thicker piece of rope and ties it around above the wound around my leg, and I realize at this point he's making a tourniquet of some sort, right? And he's got a bottle of fucking rubbing alcohol, and he's like, all right.
Suck.
And he hands me another short piece of rope, and he goes, here. And I'm like, what's this for? And he said, bite onto it, because this is going to hurt.
God, bad time.
And he just fucking top heavy poured that bottle of alcohol straight into the wound, and that sucked. That hurt, but I understood what he was doing.
Yeah.
So at this time, my parents are gone. Right? Like, my dad and my stepmom at the time, they were gone. They had gone somewhere, and I was supposed to be staying there with my friend for the night. So, so they try to get in contact with my parents and all this, and they come, luckily they weren't super far, I don't think. They were only about 10 minutes away. So they come, and then we go to the hospital, and my dad's just like, what the fuck did you do? Right? Like, dude, how did this happen? He's trying to, like, make sense of it. And my dumbass came up with this genius story, because I was afraid I was going to get in trouble that we were, using sharp blades and stuff out there when we technically weren't supposed to be, right? And I was like, oh, I fell and a stick jabbed into my leg and blah, blah, blah. And he took one look at it and he went,
all right, so what really happened?
Yeah, right? Like, he took one look at it and he was like, that ain't no fucking stick, dude. You're full of shit. You're full of shit. That is not a stick. Seriously. And I stuck by my story, and he's like, okay. So we get to the hospital. And we sit in the ER for a little while. And one other stupid thing that I did. At this point, for some reason, I couldn't really feel it. Mm-hmm. And we're sitting there waiting in the ER, and I'm getting bored. and I can't believe I did this. But
you poked it, didn't you?
I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm like, it looks like a funny little mouth. And so I started, like, yeah, I was like, brr, 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 brr. And my dad, I did it for like 2 seconds, and my dad turns over and looks at me, and he's like, he's just shaking his head, like, he's giving me that look, and like, you better fucking stop right now, or I swear to God, I'm gonna murder you in front of all these fucking people right here, right now, like, and so I was like, okay, I'll stop, and so we wait like another hour or however long it was. God, it took forever. It took so fucking long. Finally, they get me in there, and the nurse comes in immediately and goes, oh, what kind of blade sliced you open? Like, obviously that was something sharp. And I was like, oh, and my dad's just like looking at me like, yeah, you want to tell her about the stick, and of course I had to fess up at that point, because he was like, my dad looked at the nurse and he's like, well, he says it was a stick, and she was like, baby, that wasn't no stick, and I'm like, okay, told the true story, and so they're like, all right, well, let's go ahead and get you back here. They get me back there. And they numbed up the area, right?
Started sewing you up.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. They numbed me, and then like, all right, we'll be back in a couple of minutes, and we'll go ahead and get you fixed up. 2 hours later, right? We're sitting there in this part of the fucking ER. And I hear other people screaming and like all kinds of shit going. There's all kinds of people that are in there in absolute agonizing pain. So obviously I am at the bottom of the priority list, right? Like, and so finally 2 hours later they come in and they bring this they don't have like stitches and shit, right? They have a staple gun.
Oh,
dude,
hell yeah.
It looks like a typical staple gun that you would buy like at Lowe's or Home Depot or somewhere like that. But the difference is it's all, fancy and it's fancy medical looking, it's got like the little white plastic armor to it and all that. And I'm like, what is that? And they go, oh yeah, you're going to have staples. You're going to have about 4. And I was like, what? So they're like, all right, let's go ahead and get going. Well, so first, the most painful part of everything was they got out a fucking syringe that was about 12 to 14 inches tall. And it was like about as big around as the handle of a baseball bat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it had a weird like cup thing at the end of it. And it wasn't a needle, but it was like, a liquid syringe. And so she's filling it up and I'm like, what's that? And she's like, oh, it's just water. It's just something to flush it out. We have to flush out the wound to clean it. And I'm like, okay, this shouldn't hurt. Well, it's water and codeine. Oof. And when she did that, dude, that was probably one of the most painful things I think I've ever. That was one of the highest physical pains I've ever felt in my life because it stings and it burns, and I could feel it going into my nerves, like inside of my leg, all the way down to my foot. It was horrible. It was the most painful thing. So she did that twice.
Nope.
And so she does that, and then she's like, all right, let's go ahead. And she goes to start stapling. Well, by this time, the numbness has worn off, right? Mm-hmm. So she staples one, and I like fucking screamed. I was like, fuck, and she looked at me, like looked at my dad, and she was like, oh, and he was like, just go and do it. And she went, bop, bop, bop. And she did it quick. She did a good job. Whoever that nurse was, she did, just boom, 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 boom. And
oh, it was evil to you, wasn't it? But that was evil to you, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, man. It sucks so bad. So at the end of the day, the poor life choice was I should have never, ever even entertained the idea of going out there and clearing those brushes and thorn bushes and shit with these like fucking short things. We should have just waited and asked our parents and be like, hey, we want to use this for sledding. Can you help us do this, or can you do it? Or because it was pushing to winter. Right. Well, we were in late summer, I think. It was like September, right?
Right.
So it was like, oh, winter's coming soon. It's probably going to snow. We want to do this and blah, blah, blah. If we'd have just explained that, they probably would have done it.
But that's again, that's the beauty to these kind of things, though. Is like now you know.
Yep, now you know. Fucked around and found out.
That's the best way to do it, man.
That's always the best way to do it.
It's living.
Yep. But, again, poor life choices are... It sucks when they happen, but if you make it through them, then down the road you realize, again, it's what helps you grow.
Character development.
It's character development, yeah. Yeah. You realize then, you know what? I'm glad that happened, because now I'm smarter and faster and stronger. Mm. So, But with that said, I think it's time we call this one to a close.
Wrap it up.
Yep, wrap it up. And next time we will elaborate on some other crazy, ridiculous topic. And thank you all for tuning in and listening. And we will see you next time.